We would be going to the next session. Dr. J. Angerkani, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Microbiology and Biotechnology of Bardiyar University, will be taking the second session. The topic would be the edifice of project proposal. I would welcome now Dr. J. Angerkani to take over the session.
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. I thank the ASF, ASM organizing members for giving me an opportunity to talk to you all people regarding the project proposals. I think after listening to so much general activities, this is going to be a serious talk, I think. I hope this will be a useful session for you. And before starting the session, I'd like to explain that I'm not here as an expert to give you what is how do you write about the proposals and how do you go about the proposals. This is just an experience which I have got when I was preparing the proposals. So this is just a sharing of experience and nothing as giving an expertise view on that. So with this, I'll start the session for edifice of proposal writing. So when we start with this proposal writing, I hope everyone would have gone through this hurdles, and I think the steps they have taken, they'll be facing so many problems. I have also faced the same problem. So when we are writing the proposal, first, what is the thing that we have to think about is the choice of the topic. So how do you find the topic and what topic you have to venture into? That is where we all stuck in. And that is where we are not sure whether whatever the topic which we are taken is correct or not. So that is the first initial thing that we have to take care. And what we have to see is the regional or national problem. What the problem which is prevailing in and around us. That is in our campus or around our campus or in the state or in the nation level. So you have to look at a problem which is relating to us. And when we identify the problem, then we can go ahead with the expertise we have to solve that. What is the expertise we have got? What are we strong at? Our research team, what are we strong at, and what are the works we have done pertaining to that problem which we can solve? So these things has to decide that. And apart from this expertise, you can say that I am an expert, but who will authenticate that you are the expert in that problem? How can you solve that? That should be explained, or that should be given out or confirmed by the papers you have given out. That is paper publications, specifically on that topic which you have chosen, should give you that this is an expert who can provide problem for that, a solution for that problem. So the next thing that we have to look at is the papers published. Next thing, again, after publication also, anything if you have done pertaining to the particular problem, that preliminary work done is very important when you go ahead with providing a topic or selecting a topic, because we are not sure. Whenever we give a concept, you will not be sure that this topic or this solution or this concept might work out. So that when you are going to convince another person that this can be a successful one, for that you should have some work that has been already done on that. So when you are going to choose a topic, these four things are very much essential. That is, one is you have to identify the problem, which is very much in and around you. And you should have an expertise, which is very much there for the solving the problem. Expertise in the sense, what is the strength you have got for solving that problem? And then as an evidence to authenticate your expertise, there should be papers available on the topic. And finally, you should have some work done on that. That is, you should have ventured out with that. So mostly what we do is we initially find any problem means we will provide it to the PG students. So that whenever the research student, for the 6 months alone, they'll be trying it out, because we cannot waste the time of an MPhil scholar or a PhD scholar. So first, initially, we'll give this problem to a PG student. So let them find out what is the thing that can be done in that. So whatever the hurdles and whatever things that can be done within the 6 months, you know that this is going to be working out or not. Then the next thing you have to do is you have to take the problem to the MPhil scholar. He can work out in a longer period, so we can find out. So till the MPhil, you can try the problem which you have chosen as a research topic, and then you can confirm the concept whether it is correct or not. So this is how we normally finalize a topic on which we are going to venture out. The next thing important which will strengthen your proposal or strengthen your topic is your collaborative research. As you know, no one is an expert in all the topics which you are going to say, because any topic which you are choosing might have a step in any field. So many fields might be involved in that. So we cannot find a solution for all the problems which are in various fields. So what we can think about is, we will give one particular focus on one particular field, so that can be linked with the other collaborative people who are expertise in other fields, and jointly it might solve the whole problem. So this is very much essential when you are going for the collaborative research. Is essential when you are venturing out. Nowadays, the funding agencies are looking only at the collaborative projects. Individual projects are not at all now encouraged, because the individual projects is very basic it will be. So they are not now looking at very basic research. Of course, basic research is needed, but the basic research along with the next step, what it has to go through, that has to be also shown in the project. So that is where the collaborations is very much essential. It could be inter-department. You go with the other department. Like we microbiologists can handhold with the biochemist, and we can handhold with the biotechnologist, or we can handhold with the science or other people also. It's not that we have to stick on to only with the science people. As you know, social sciences also, they have a solution, because the social sciences people are the one who are going to identify the problem which are prevailing in the society. So we can handhold with the social science people. They can identify as a problem which is actually needs to be addressed. So with that, we can find out what is the reason behind. Social science people will be very much collecting the data from directly from the field. So we'll know what is the problem and why the problem is causing. Also, we can identify and we can find a solution for that. So it's not that collaboration has to be stick on to the field level. It could be moved on to other fields also. We can expand our research area. So this is how the collaboration has to be established to give out a holistic view of the project. So this is how we choose the topic, and we have set a platform for how we are going to do it and with whom we are going to do it. Now we are ready with the proposal concept. That is all we have done. Next thing that we have to do is find out the status. What do you mean by current status? That is an important thing, because many people would have done it. If a single person sitting in a corner can think of this particular concept, you know that so many people who are actually involved and who are actually involved in the problem might have thought about the same concept which you have thought about, the same solution you have thought about. So what you have to know is who are all already working in that. So that you have to make sure that you are not the only person who are working, but so many other people are also working on that. So this has to be an important one when we are venturing into the next level of that. So what the thing that you have to do is, in the national level, who are all the people who are working on that? And the next thing is, on the international level also, there might be people who are working on that. So this will help in two ways. One is you can find a collaboration who will help you in going to the next level of your research. The next thing is, you need not repeat the same thing which have already done it. So this way you can find out solution with the help of the other people, or you can get some idea from the already existing people who have done it, who have contributed to that particular field. So this is not a review. As I said, this is not going to be a review, because review will be for the past 10 years or will be taking. But this current status, this has to be taken for last 5 years alone. Who are currently working on that has to be known. You have to know the person who's pursuing now, because the concept which you have thought about, someone might be working now. Before the end of the proposal, they might have published a paper. Then there is no use of pursuing in that particular project. So you should know the person who are currently working in the field is very important when you are defining the proposals. So this current status, identifying the people who are working in that, is an important exercise when you are going to the next level of the construction of the project. So this will also clearly define the gap which needs to be addressed, where we have to work on. Where no one is concentrating on will be revealed by this. It's a review, that is search we have done. So this will help you in identifying the niche where you can give your expertise. So now we have got the platform, and now you know what is the gap and who are all working on that, and now we can strongly proceed to the next level. So that is the structure. How do you then, now you have everything, you are ready. Now we have to start writing it. So the structure of any proposal is the same thing. Most of the funding agencies all have these things. In various names, they might be giving it. In the origin of proposal, some funding agencies might ask it as a background. Sometimes they might ask it as in what is the status of it, like that. It will be a different names will be there. But these are the major topics under which you have to write something. So first is the title, as you know. Any title should be clear enough. It should not be like the basic study of, or evaluation of, or screening of, like that. If it is going to be like that, it will be considered as a very basic research and they will not go to that. For example, whatever the title I have given, edifice of proposal writing. This is nothing new. It's a construction of proposal writing is what the project proposal is what I have done. But the name I have chosen is a different one so that it will create an, what do you say, that intrigue the minds of the other people. So what could be that? What do you mean by edifice like that? It could create an, what do you say, motivation or something to the trigger something in the other person to look into that what you have written. So likewise, the title should be an enigmatic and also explanatory. It should give you what is actually you're going to do. Clearly explain what is your objective should be explained in the title. So the title itself should catch the attention of the funding agencies. So that will help you in getting the funds. So next is the origin of proposal, or otherwise you can call it as the background of the proposal. Coming to the background of the proposal, you should know that why this is important. You have to defend why you have chosen this particular topic for the funding agency. So now you have to look at the already existing one, whomever have done it. This is where your review will help you. Past things, whomever have done it, but they might not have found a solution for it. So this is important, and this has to be addressed, without which the society cannot be progressing. So this significance of the topic has to be exhibited or should be established, which will, how will it will help in the society. That is very much important in the origin of proposal. That is the first thing that you have to address when you're going for the origin of proposal. Next, what is the things that you are going to address? That is how we are going to address the problem. Other people have done it, they have all failed, or no one has attempted it. So I'm going to attempt it, and how I am going to do it. So that has to be given in a very small gist. This is how my approach is going to be, and how the approach is going to be successful with the evidence you have to suggest in that. This, based on this particular paper, they have done this, but I am writing in a different way. I am approaching in a different way, so that it will become a successful. That is what has to be there in the proposal also. Finally, what is your outcome? What do you expect from your proposal? Has to be there in the end of it. So at the end of the working of all these proposed projects, this is how it should be. The answer should be, or the conclusion should be this. What is the thing that you are going to get out of this project? Has to be the final line in your origin of proposal. So this is how the origin of proposal, that is significance of the work or significance of the topic, how it is going to help the society. And next thing, what is your approach, which is going to be differing from the already existing one. Third one, what is the outcome of your proposal? All has to be covered in the origin of the proposal in a very short way. It should not be very elaborate, and it should not be very, what do you say, excessive. It should not be, because no one, as a teacher, you know that when you read the answer sheets of the students, you will know, will feel very bored when it is going to be a very elaborate one. So you want the gist in that very short way. You should explain what you are going to do. The next thing is going to be, as I told you, the current status you will be adding on into your structure of the proposal. It has to be done, but this has to be the first exercise you have done it. And this has to be added here. And next is the key questions. When you go to the key questions, some of the funding agencies might not ask for it, but you should ask the questions for yourself. If at all you are choosing one particular region and you are going to study in that region. So what you have to say is, why this region is chosen. Critical questions which will justify your selection of the topic has to be there. If, as a science person, I can only cite an example from a science proposal. If I'm going to choose a particular microbes, which is going to be utilized for the as a probiotic. So what I have to say is, why I have chosen this organism as a probiotic, and why a probiotic is mandatory for a particular person, and why this could be a solution to an overall thing. So each and every point we have to get clarified And this clarification should have a supportive evidence for it also. So if an organism is going to be chosen, or if the particular thing is going to be chosen, so you have to say, substantiate with already existing reports or the papers which are available that this is going to be a beneficial one. These are the things that it gives out to the particular person. So I'm choosing this particular organism. In another way, no one has used this organisms in spite of its beneficial properties that has been there. That also has to be answered in that. So these key questions will help you in actually designing your work or in justifying why you have chosen your work. The next, after all these three, the next thing that you have to very much concentrate on is the objectives. Because any funding agency person, now the COVID lockdown period, we had a very good experience of preparing a proposal, which under the guidance of our Vice Chancellor, Dr. P. Kaliraj. So we had so much expertise, thoughts, and then the suggestions he shared with his own experiences. So what he suggested is, when you're going for the objectives, it should clearly spell out what you're going to do. The objective should not be not more than 3, because if at all you are exceeding more than 3, it is not going to be finishing within the 3 years. They know that, because most of the funding agency will give the funding agency fund for only 3 years. So what you have to know is, the objectives should not be not more than 3, but if very much needed, it cannot cross 5. So this objective should clearly spell out one objective you're taking that should cover one particular thing. If I am talking about in terms of science proposals, I'm going to say one organism I'm going to isolate from one particular area. So this has to be isolation of an organism from this isolation, identification of the organism from this particular area. That is what I'm going to do, give as a first objective. Second thing, I'm going to go for the application of that organism. What is the thing that is, I'm going to purify an enzyme from that, and then purification, characterization of the enzyme will be the next thing. So it should complete one particular work that should be an objective. Finally, the application part of it. So likewise, the objective has to clearly spell out. It should not individually say that isolation means I'm going to go for the taking out the organism from the soil. I'm going to take out the organism from the thing. It should not be like that. But it should give out the exact way of you're going to proceed also should be there. So this objective is the one initially all the experts will look at. After the title, they'll directly go for the objectives. What are the objectives you have set for your thing? Whether it is possible, and whether it is going to be useful, and whether it is going to be feasible. Whatever the things that is going to be coming out is going to be useful or the society or not. That is how it has to be spelled out in the objectives. Next thing is the rationale. As you see the titles, you see that when you start writing, you'll see that it will all looks the same. But rationale is very important when we are going for the, when this is the proposal, origin, key questions, objectives, rationale. So when you go to the rationale, why you have chosen this concept? As that is mostly it will be covered in the origin of proposals, but this should elaborate in a way that has to convince the speaker or convince the panel who are going to be justifying that. How do you say that this concept would be successful? That also, for that also you have to give out the evidence. And how do you say this is different from the existing or earlier concepts? That's how, that also has to be explained in this case. And finally, mostly from the key questions, more of the justifying the correctness of the concept has to be there. So the rationale and the origin of proposal might be more or less same, but you have to make it in a different way that it should be giving or justifying what you have taken as a topic for funding is very much essential and very much successful. It could give a product or what. So that has to be spelled out both in the origin of proposal and also in the rationale which you are going to give. Next is the, so now we have got objectives and now we have justified that what I'm going to do is going to be correct, and I have proven that it is going to be a useful one. So everything is down. Now next thing is going to be how he is going to achieve that. That is what the experts will be expecting to know that. Whatever the methodology that you are going to say should be a standard one. It should not be taken from the recently published one, even if it taking as a recent technique, but it should be an authenticated journal. As you know, there are so many journals which are coming up, but it should have a standard method which should be accepted by all the people who are working in that particular field. So the standard method should be adapted along with the references should be cited from which the methodology is going to be adapted, has to be referred in that. But need not explain in detail, as in the 1 ml has to be taken and 2 ml has to, each and every step need not be explained in the case of methodology. But it can be expressed similar to, I think most of you would have prepared for the manuscripts, paper publications, you would have prepared for that. So that similar way you have to prepare this methodology, that is, this will be followed by this methodology for this technique, I'll be following the methodology of the so-and-so, like that it has to be mentioned. And this is going to be a very important one as a deciding factor, because whomever is expert is there, he knows what is the methodology is standard one, which is not a standard one. So you have to be very careful enough in choosing the methodology, and which is also you can do it based on your expertise. That is also very much important. So if a new method they are going to adapt, that is, you are going to establish a new method, unlike the existing one, you give the basic methodology from which you are going to modify, and that also has to be explained why you are modifying. That has to be that earlier you had done it. So that has to be explained in that. Next one is the inclusion of statistical analysis. As you know, any scientific or non-science or the social science, everywhere the statistical analysis is very much important. That is very much mandatory. So what is the statistical analysis you are going to do? That will convince the scientific society whether you are going actually as per the regulations or not. That is very much important. So this, after this methodology, next thing that you have to say is the timeline. Now that is where the correct or else the toughest part comes in, because you will not be able to say that within this period you have to finish, but they ask only the timeline is very important, because when you are giving the objectives itself, you should know that this objective should have been possible to complete by 3 years. Some projects they might also give for 5 years also, but rarely some projects like what we have got in RUSA, I think most of the universities knows that, but I don't know what the colleges people are there, whether you are aware about the RUSA or not. Some colleges also got RUSA funds. So in that RUSA, we have got funds only for 2 years. So some of the funding agencies will give only for 2 years. Like in COVID now, this lockdown period, they have called for the proposals. They have asked only for 1 year. Within a year, you should give out the product. So that so many things are involved when you are going to fix the timeline. So first look at the year of, before going for the projects, the objectives has to be set based on the timeline. So if it is going to be 3 years, in 3 years, how you are going to finish your work? That has to be clearly defined. In this timeline, another thing that you have to look at is, you have to look at the collaborators also. If you are collaborating with some other person, you have to clearly define, he will be doing what is the roles and responsibilities of the collaborator has to be clearly spelled out in your proposals. So in the timeline, when you're going for it, what you will be doing, what your collaborator will be doing, everything has to be clearly spelled out. So mostly the time duration will be given in quarters. Every 3 months, what is the thing that you are going to give? So every 3 months, you can draw a table and then you can go ahead with the explaining that. The sample of it I have given in the thing. That is, you can give it as this is the first quarter, second quarter, fourth quarter, sixth quarter, like that in weeks. This is given in weeks, because in 1 year, if it is going to give it as, it will be very small. But if it is going to be in months, then it is going to be a different one. So it mostly, you divide it in parts in which way you can complete one particular work. So this timeline is also very important when you are going ahead with proposal or convincing a person to give that whatever you have done or whatever you have taken is very important. It is possible to finish within that. So this is another model for preparing the timeline, where you can simply give the number of weeks or months based on which you can finish your work. Next thing is a budget. I think everyone will be worried, or else they will be thinking that they have to put this much amount in that. But where you have to look at is, in the end of the project, you should have something in the name of the project. So mostly as a science person, what I can say is, we'll be looking at their equipment. After the 3 years end of the project, there should be something, their contribution should be there in the department. So once the project is finished, nothing is remaining. Only the papers are there. It's not should be like that for us, for a science person. I don't know about the social person. Social persons, they'll be looking at only the publications, I hope, or the data which they have created will be a more useful one. But as a science person, what we look at is what is the equipment we can purchase, which will be helping us in a long duration, which will be assured to the institution or also the department. So the equipment is the one which first we will give the importance. But of course, the other infrastructure, sometimes they might not give it. That is the lab structural facilities, and then some room structures they can modify. Sometimes that budget might not be available in the non-recurring. In the recurring, the first thing that you have to take out is the manpower. Mostly it is spelled out. This particular, if you're taking a project assistant, this is the amount. And if it is going to be a JRF, this is the amount. And if it is going to be a RA like that, everything is spelled out. So you can choose the manpower only based on the funding which is available for your thing, because there will be a limitation in the budget which they have spelled out. So that you have to take it into account before finalizing what type of manpower you need. Either a project assistant you need, or a JRF or an RA like that, you have to finalize on that. And chemicals and consumables, as you, of course, that is all depending upon the projects and also the what is the type of work you are going to do. And travel, contingency, and everything is based on the requirement of each and every PI. And outsourcing is one another thing that we have to, for the science people, we look at it, because most of the equipments might not be available in the host institution. So sometimes we have to look for the analysis. We have to go for some other places. So that way we have to allot some funds. This outsourcing might include, sometimes it might include or in contingency at least, you can include the amount for publications. Nowadays, if you go for high-end publications, they are asking money. So for the publications also, you can include the amount for either in contingency or in outsourcing, so that that amount can be utilized for publishing the material which you are bringing out from this particular funding agency. So next, this recurring and non-recurring is the two types of fundings that you have to look at. Finally, coming to the overhead charges. This overhead charges is only for the recurring part. So each funding agency might have a different percentage, so that based on that, you can prepare that. The final thing that is up to you is justification for each and every head, because most of the experts try to bring down the budget. So you have to justify or choose the items or choose the equipments which is actually required for the item. If it is already existing in the institution, so you have to give justification why you are already duplicating the existing one. So each and every head under which you are claiming has to be justified, and it has to be properly explained in detail for the purpose for which you are going to utilize. So this is how the budget has to be drawn, and the expected outcome, that is very much important in any project, because everyone, even if you go to a shop, if at all you are paying some money, you will expect that is the thing that I need. If at all I'm giving 100 rupees, that much worth has to be coming out to my hand. So that is what each and every person perception will be there. So if we are asking for a project, every funding agency will look at what is the outcome they are going to give. So first one, the experts will be looking at is the title. Next one is the objective. And finally, they will look at the expected outcome. Whether the outcome is going to be useful to society or not, whatever the things that is going to be coming out will be worthy of giving this fund or not. That has to be decided. So the expected outcome is very much essential. You have to correlate and then give it to your project proposals. The deliverables in terms of either it is going to be a new product, or it could be a new process design, or just a technology could have been developed, whatever may be that. So whether the patenting is possible, all thing has to be explained in the expected outcome, because this will spell out your, worthiness of your project, and also the how you are going to directly utilize this fund to the society. Because all funding agencies look at, give the funds, just nothing is free for you. So whatever things that you are getting has to be repaid in terms of whatever the products which you are going to produce. I think most of the people who are doing the basic research, they think that if at all that is not going to be, a product is not going to be released, am I not eligible to apply for that? Of course, basic research is mandatory. That is not, we also science people, we think that basic research is mandatory. But what we have to say, already I told you, you have to link with a collaborator who can take up this basic research to the next level and bring out the product. So there comes the collaboration, and there comes a new process or product designs will be possible if you are working along with the collaborator. So basic research also can be included in this, has to be included and that also has to be encouraged in this. So the deliverables, when you take a look at, it has to come out as one particular solid substances which will convince the authority or convince the expert that this is an important one. And this should address the objectives or the problems which you have addressed earlier. So this should be an answer to that. Whatever the objectives you have set, that should be clearly done, and it should be completing the project should be successfully completing and giving out one particular solution for the problem. That is very much essential. So even if it is a product, the product should be of proper, so giving a proper solution to that. It should not again add a problem to that. So that has to be properly given here in the expected outcome. The next thing is summary. Again, as I told you, the origin of proposal, the rationale, and the summary, more or less they come along the same way, because summary is the one you are going to give in a very short words. You are going to sum up whatever that is going to be there in the proposal. So concise description of the problem. What is the problem you have chosen has to be there in the first one, and what is your proposed plan? As I told you in the original proposal, this has to be given, and what do you expect at the end of the project, the expected outcome. Everything is in the compressed form. When you go into the submission only, you will realize that anything, whatever you have written, may not fit into this. Because the problem of the faculty or the teaching fraternity is that they can talk for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. But when they are asked to give in very just in 10 minutes, that is the problem where we face. So the summary is very much essential, because this is what, or instead of origin of proposal, they will read the summary only to know exactly what is going to do, they are going to do, understand what we are going to do, or understand what is the project proposal is about. So this summary should give an overall view of what is the problem and what is your plan and what is your expected outcome. All should be covered in the summary. So this is the ending point of where the full title of or the proposal structure is ending. But apart from that, one another important thing is also there in some funding agency. They might ask this also. That is alternative hypothesis. Because if you are venturing into a new hypothesis, there is a chance of failure also. Somebody say that the failed attempt also is going to be an is an answer, or it's a result for the thing. But if you know that there is a chance of altering, so what is the alternative? What could be the other one that you have to look at? So that also has to be given out in that. Is there any risks involved in implementing? When you're giving out one particular solution, is there any problem that might arise when you're giving the thing? Like if at all giving as an organism or microbes to a particular person as a probiotic, what could be the result, or what could be the limitations that might arise when you're actually implementing that? So all these has to be done. And any pitfalls, if it is going to be any problem when implementing, if you are going to face, if it is going to be regional, if it is going to be a global one, you can apply that. So all this has to be done. And any problem arising due to the solution provided. All these, anything that is negatively you have to focus has to be answered in this itself. Because as you know, any person as a teacher, as we all look at only the mistakes which anyone have done it. That is a problem with all the teaching people. So if at all a problem is being given, so anyone will look at us, why not this could be done? What will happen if this could be done? So likewise, everyone will be asking the negative part also. So you should be able to answer for that. Instead of other one raising the questions, you could answer that in your alternative hypothesis. So this also you should be prepared and then for that. So now you have got the structure of the project proposals, that is from the title, the origin of proposal. I think everyone is clear about how you have to go about it. So coming to the experience of whatever things. So it looks easy when I just spell out, this is what you have to do, this is what I have to do. But actually when you are going into it, we will not know that whether the proposal is going to be successful or not. It's not the success which we finally look at. What is the experience we go through is very important. As I told you, as an expert, I am not sharing whatever the things that I have done. Because whatever I have learned each and every time I prepared. For first time I prepared was the proposals for UGC I prepared. That time it was a failure. Because that's the first time I have prepared and I don't know what is the expectation of them. So when after rejection, I went through the proposals. Then I could raise so many questions. Why I haven't answered this? Why I haven't answered that? Why this has not been addressed? So like all these things, each and every time when you send a proposal, you learn a lot from that experience. So it's not that whenever something is getting failed or you are getting a rejection, you take it as a challenge and go ahead with the next thing. You have to make it possible that this has to be evolved as a product, and don't stop the work in between. While you are applying for the funding agency, the same concept, if you are confident enough, that work has to be continued parallelly doing it has to be work done in the laboratory, or your research team has to be completing that. So that will add up to your proposals which you are proposing. So when you devise a concept, when you spend so much time in devising a concept, don't stop with preparing the proposal alone. If you are sure that, give the problem to another scholar and let him do it, start doing it. If the fund comes, then it is well and good. If the fund is not coming, at least you are going ahead with the whatever the ideas you have achieved, with the whatever the avenues or the revenue you have got, you can proceed with that. So this is very important one. When there is so many failures, when there is so many rejections in the proposals, that will only add up to your strength to move ahead. So this is not the rejections which is that is a success which is not going to be giving you the learning. Only the failures will give you the learning. So as how many failures you are getting, that much wiser you will be becoming. So it is, don't take that any failures or rejection from the funding agency as a stopping point for further motivation. It should not stop your attempting further. So you should move ahead with addressing or approve or applying for more projects, and that will help you in learning a lot, and also venturing into new things also will be evolving from this learning process. So apart from once the proposal, everything is ready, next what we have to look at is what are the funding agencies that are available. There are so many funding agencies. We usually normally look at the UGC, CSIR, and then DST, DBT, ICSSR. All these things are the one which normally look at. But there are so many non-conventional or which is not being tapped out. There are so many funding agencies available, which I have listed to a certain extent. I think you will all know about it. But the main thing in the yellow, finally, I have listed out, that is which is being NCBS in Bangalore. We have got the NCBS institution is there. In that, they are constantly updating the funding opportunities for the science people. So you can look at that. If you are not looking at each and individual websites, DST, DBT websites are there. Every day when you are looking at the mail, you have to sit and see whether new call for is there for the proposals or not. So you can look at it and then go ahead with that. And this particular website gives you or constantly updates the funding opportunities currently, whatever it is there. It will give the overall gist of the funding opportunities which are currently available in in the present scenario. That is how we can see whether it is there. This is for the science people I am talking about. And the next funding agency is about for everyone who can venture into it. And the final thing, finally, the yellow highlighted one, it gives you this is a specific website where for the humanities and social science alone, the research funding agency they have listed. What are the funding opportunities there? In the addition to the list of funding agency, they have given the proposal formats also. So that will help you in that. Here also, as I said earlier, you think about, because each and every proposal format has a limitation in words. So when you are preparing, you will be preparing in a vast, that is 2-3 pages you would be preparing. But what they would have asked in very crispy manner in 1,000 words or 2,000 words like that. So you have to bring down whatever you have learned to a crispy, very short, fast, rapid, like that. You have to produce in a very short way so that it will reach the expert or it will impress the expert to provide the funding. So these are all some of the things I learned or I went through the learning process and then got information. I hope whatever I have given is useful for you. I think I'll end my session. If at all any questions are there, I'm ready to give that.
Thank you very much. Considering the time factor, I request all the participants to write to Madam directly and get the reply from them directly, please. I thank Dr. Angayar Kanni, Associate Professor of Bharathiar University, to having taken part in this session. I thank her for her best of her ability the information. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.